Next up, we're going to talk more about shorelines from the Wisconsin Green Fire folks. Mike Meyer was a longtime Wisconsin DNR researcher, toxicologist in the aquatic world, working on loons as well as the world of shoreline restoration and how it supports wildlife habitat and clean water. Mike retired after probably 30 years with the DNR and now is supporting the Wisconsin Green Fire folks. And he's here today to share with us how they're partnering for healthy lakes as part of the Green Fire outreach strategy. He also runs a business called Nova Ecological Services, where he does consulting work around water, lakes, rivers, and helping support communities working with conservation goals in mind.
Great. Well, thank you, Pat. Thanks for the introduction. And what I want to describe today is a project I'm working with both my Green Fire hat and my Nova Ecological Services hat. We've been contracted, myself with Nova Ecological Services, to produce a product for the Oneida County Lakes and Rivers Association. I'm going to describe that today. It's an interim presentation. We're still in the process of developing this product, but I also wanted to acknowledge that this is supported by a grant from the Johnson Foundation. Bob Martini was very active in providing access to the grant program at the Johnson Foundation, and that funding is supporting this project. On to Green Fire. So many of you may know about Green Fire's mission, which is to support the conservation legacy of Wisconsin by promoting science-based management of Wisconsin natural resources. If you haven't heard of Wisconsin's Green Fire, just Google that and go to the website and learn much about the work they are conducting. It's about a 7-year-old organization, and it's growing every year. So you may even be interested, once you read about it, to join Wisconsin's Green Fire. But specifically, this project today that I'm going to describe is designed to work with and train target lake associations to provide first cut screening tools with which to obtain and interpret data about their specific lake. And this information can be used to guide lake planning and management decisions by lake associations and property owners. And it supports a bottom-up lake protection philosophy, which is now, we feel, required in an era of reduced regulatory oversight of lakes and shorelands in Wisconsin. The specific objectives of the toolbox, the Northern Highlands Lake User Toolbox, is to train lake association members to obtain the available Wisconsin DNR lake data relevant to their lake to learn about the ecological health of their lake. And the reason to obtain this data is to use it to assess their lake's current status and the risks and current watershed impacts that may be impacting their lake water quality. The reason to conduct this analysis is to prioritize for lake associations their planning and management activities in that they may want to conserve current conditions at their lake or to reduce threats identified within their watershed. So the toolbox lays out a process for obtaining and compiling existing lake-specific information from Wisconsin Lakes databases, including the Wisconsin DNR Lakes Program, the Wisconsin DNR Surface Water Data Viewer, the Wisconsin Citizen-Based Lake Monitoring Network. The goal is to help lake groups navigate through the abundance of data that exists that can sometimes be overwhelming. This data is then used to guide lake planning and management decisions. Initially, we will share the results of this toolbox in 3 half-day workshops, each containing 1 to 2 learning modules. A total of 5 learning modules will be shared. The initial rollout will be with 4 to 5 volunteer lake association members per workshop to provide us feedback on the content. Subsequent workshops will include 5 to 10 lake association members. And the workshops will be held at the UW Kemp Station in Lake Tomahawk. Ultimately, we will have an online site where the training modules will be recorded and available to all lake associations on demand. So I'm going to briefly go through the outline of these workshops and just give you a sense of what information is going to be shared and what it can be used for. And I'll illustrate that with a couple slides taken directly from the PowerPoints that will be part of the workshops. So the first half-day workshop will be an introduction to the Lake User Toolbox and the basics of lake ecology. And this is modules 1 and 2. And this the first module is pretty much a why do we need this lake toolbox, and we're going to follow the Oneida County Lakes and Rivers Association publication, Doing the Right Thing for Our Lakes and Rivers. And if you look at this table of contents, it pretty much describes the outline of the first training module. We're encouraging lake associations and property owners to do the right thing for the water quality of their lakes, for stewardship of their shorelines, for the economy of the North, and for the lake community and government. So we kind of use this as a rally point in the workshop process to make the rationale as to why we need to move forward with this approach. And then the second module will be the basics of lake ecology. This is courtesy of the Lake Partnerships, this PowerPoint, and it goes through kind of a Limnology 101 presentation where the properties of water and the hydrological cycles are described, lake types are described, physical characteristics of lakes. You can see all the various aspects of it will be described and defined. We'll get into the chemical, biological, and riparian habitat characteristics of lakes. And finally, what to observe as signs of environmental degradation within your lakes. So my partner, Jim Kreitlow, who is a 30-plus-year lake manager from the DNR stationed out of Rhinelander, is going to head up this module, and he'll take you through all these various aspects of lake ecology in Wisconsin. The goal is to get everyone on the same page as far as knowledge and language as we go through the acquisition of lake data from the DNR websites. So the next half-day workshop will include a description of what data should I be collecting about my lake. That's module 3. And it's going to follow the data gap analysis found in the 2020 WDNR Lake Planning guidance. And then we'll give you a step-by-step methods of acquiring this data from the DNR websites. That's module 4. So when I describe this data collection and the fact that it follows the DNR Surface Water Grant Program guidance, here is the exact page that we will be following in acquiring data for your specific lake. And this data is often necessary to make decisions on lake planning, such as do we need a comprehensive lake plan for our lake or a focused lake plan, or do we actually need a plan for our lake, or should we focus on conservation and the Healthy Lakes program? So as you can see, there's various types of data that are available via the DNR, and we will guide Lake Association members through this list of different data to acquire this data for their specific lake when it is available. Notice this is called a data gap analysis. So some of this data may be available, all of it may be available, or very little may be available for your lake, but we'll walk each lake association member through the process of looking up this data to see what is available, and then decisions can be made as to whether additional data should be collected so that they can make better planning decisions on their lake. So to acquire this data from the DNR, we have developed the following worksheet, which basically follows that data gap analysis, but provides you with a uh, a worksheet with which to record the specific information about your lake as you run through our workshops. And you can see there's various categories of lake information that can be acquired. And we have 2 pages of that information. So you fill this in as you go through our workshop with information specific to your lake. And we also have an instruction manual, so to speak, that has a description of how you acquire the data to fill in the blanks on that worksheet for your lake. And this is just an example of a couple pages from the instruction manual. This is basically the first 3 steps you take in accessing the DNR data for your lake. And to get a little more specific about that, those are just the first couple pages. There were 19 instructions in total to acquire all the information about your lake. So let's start with the WDNR Lakes program page, and you can access it via this website. And here's what you pull up when you enter the DNR Lakes program webpage. And if you want to gain information about your specific lake, you start with a search for your lake, and it's in the Find a Lake menu. And in this example, we're just going to walk you through a few of the data acquisition sites. But in this case, we're going to look at Tomahawk Lake in Oneida County. And if you start at the search menu tab, enter your lake name and county, you will pull up all the information that's available at the Lakes program page for Tomahawk Lake. First, it provides an overview that describes various features about the lake, the fish populations, and there's some zoning ordinances that you can look at regarding boating, fish consumption advisories, and fishing regulations specific for Tomahawk Lake, as well as interactive GIS maps and a bit dated but still accurate contour bathymetric map. If you go to the facts and figures menu tab, you can see that there will be much of the information that's necessary for your worksheet, in that it describes the lake area, its depth, its mean depth, bottom substrate, what type of lake it is. It gives you the WIBIC number that you'll want to enter, the Wisconsin Water Body ID code. And it gives you some links to some lake organizations. So it's a good starting place to start filling in your worksheet, and we'll assist people in the process of filling these out. If you go to the More tab at Tomahawk Lake's site, what I want to highlight here is the water quality reports and data that are available for Tomahawk Lake. And this is basically available through the Citizen-Based Lake Monitoring Network website, but it's found at this link. And for Tomahawk Lake, at the Deep Hole sampling site, you can see there's a enormous volume of data that has been collected on this lake beginning in 1973. And as you can see, there's a variety of information that you can glean about Tomahawk Lake at this website. And if this data exists for your lake, this link will pull it up, and you can look at the various annual reports and SECI graphs and trophic status state index graphs for your lake, if they exist. Then moving on to a GIS product that the DNR maintains for public access. You can access it via this website address below. And this GIS project, you basically search for your lake in the project, and it'll draw a map of your lake, highlighting your lake in specific. And if you go through the various links in the surface water data viewer site, you can pull up a variety of information about the lake. This historical description about the lake contains a lot of dated information, but likely still semi-relevant about Tomahawk Lake. But In addition, you can look at the overview information that provides more updated information. If you look at the ecosystem challenges that tab at this site, you can see a lot of watershed characteristic descriptions for the Tomahawk Lake and some non-point source characteristics. Where does the runoff to the watershed originate? There's a lot of information that is archived regarding Tomahawk Lake in the DNR websites, and these can all be accessed for this lake via the condition tab. By toggling that tab, you can see this entire list of products that are available for Tomahawk Lake, and if they're available for your lake, they will appear as well. And also some condition reports about the lake.
We got about a minute or two, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you can also make some products, mapping products from these sites. Well, these are wetlands around Tomahawk Lake. This is the public lands that exist around Tomahawk Lake. These maps can be made. And also identifying impaired watersheds or impaired lakes within your watershed. There's a way to create maps of that. And just quickly, to another GIS product the DNR maintains is the Lakes and AIS mapping tool. If there's been a shoreline assessment conducted on your lake, that information exists there. Satellite Secchi disk information is stored at this site as well, in case the Citizen Lake Monitoring Network doesn't have Secchi disk information about your lake. And then finally, we'll use this lake data to chart a path forward for the lake associations. Now that you've gathered all this data, how can you use this to decide which path you should move forward as far as planning and lake management? And we're consulting with DNR lake managers and program managers right now to help us design this module 5, but it's basically, again, following their management planning guide developed in 2020 and helping lake associations decide based on the information they gather on their lake. Do they need a comprehensive management plan, or should they emphasize a focused management plan for their lake? Or being in the headwaters region of the watershed in northern Wisconsin, do we even need to be doing lake planning, or can we focus more on lake conservation and preservation? Many lakes are in pretty good shape in the Northern Highlands, and it could be that the focus of a lake association should be to conserve what they have by reaching out to their property owners and members with products like the Healthy Lakes Program website. So that is pretty much what this product will look like when it's completed. We anticipate we'll have it all put together by the end of August. And we're awaiting second-year funding from the Johnson Foundation to help us launch the actual workshops. And stay tuned, we'll be advertising when the workshops will occur and looking for volunteers to participate. So with that, if there's time for a question, I could take one or two.
Actually, I think we've come up against our time, Mike. But maybe we can work with you to use our Extension Lakes calendar to keep folks informed of when those workshop opportunities present themselves, or maybe even a lake tide snippet when you guys are ready to launch your program.
Sure. Well, we'll be happy to advertise through your portal. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Mike.